Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I have a review for two very good books. It will be a very good read for your children, older children. Let's get started. I have this one. It's Escape from Aleppo by N.H. Sensei. And I have this one by Jasmine Warga, Other Words for Home. I recommend these two books for your older kids, although this one could be for also younger kids. And let me take each one, talk about each one separately. Number one, this one is Escape from Aleppo. I read it a while back. It took me a while to finish it. Let me just read the summary from the back to give you an idea about what it's about. It's December 17, 2010, Nadia's 12th birthday and the beginning of the Arab Spring. Soon anti-government protests erupt across the Middle East, and one by one countries are thrown into turmoil. As civil war flares in Syria and bombs fall across Nadia's home city of Aleppo, her family decides to flee to safety. Inspired by current events, this novel sheds light on the complicated situation in Syria that has led to an international refugee crisis and tells the story of one girl's journey to safety. Just parental discretion. This one is very graphic. It has a lot of things that you might see, that you will see in the news when they talk about the civil war in Syria. What happened was she did lose her family. Her family thought that when her house was bombed, I don't want to spoil the story for you, but when her house was bombed, her family thought that she was dead, including her own mother. So whoever survived started to flee, and they just went somewhere that she heard them before that they were about to flee their house when their house was bombed. So whoever survived thought that she was dead, so they went on with their plan, including her own mother, to get to safety, and from there, which is by the border of Turkey. And the plan was to meet there, all of them, and then go to Turkey. So when she awoke, she didn't find anyone, and she assumed that whoever survived started to follow the plan to get to safety. So she decided that she's gonna follow path and just try to go where she remembers the place is on her own, which was quite a journey because the war has erupted, and the armies everywhere, or the rebels are everywhere too. So this is quite graphic. There are so many images in this book that is graphic, like I said. Now, it's really good. There's nothing that is worth mentioning except what I have already mentioned. And one more thing, this does need a little bit of parental supervision and discussion with your children. Why? Because the girl, I can't find it now because this is a different copy. The copy I read was from the library, and it was in a different, it looked a little bit different, so I couldn't really trace the sentence that I wanted to point out. But uh, along the lines, she was questioning Allah's mercy. She just, casually said that Allah is all merciful, but I have no idea how does that apply to my situation right now. I've lost my family. I don't even know who's alive and who's not. Look at my country, what's happening, the civil war, all these people dying, all this war and bloodshed, and how does that um, you know, make sense if Allah is all merciful. So this being questioned in the story, and that's one of the things that I don't like when authors do this, especially Muslim authors. Um, if you pose a question to a young reader's book like that, you have to also give the answer somehow through the lines, between the lines, or explicitly somewhere in the story. But they didn't. Although the story, it works out at the end that the people she met throughout her journey helped her, and she learned a lot throughout the journey. And the reader will learn a lot too about the history of Syria, about people, about how life is in this part of the world. It's really a great book, but it does need parental supervision from that perspective. You cannot just let your child, especially a teenage one who might really pose this question, not might, I'm pretty sure they will pose this question, and it does make sense, you would need an explanation. And there are so many. I posted in another, I think it was also a review about another book that also poses the same question. I don't, 1,000 questions, I think. You can find it on my page. And I have a lot of links that of Noman Ali Khan, Omar Suleiman, Yasmin Mujahid. All these people did answer this question in a very nice and delicate way, if you want some resources. So this is really good, and this is how it looks from the inside. It's pretty much easy, easy reader, and it's an easy language. It's not complicated. It will catch you. You will want to, go chapter after the other, wanting to know what's going to happen next. So it starts each chapter with the date and the time, and it's from a third perspective, so someone is telling the story. And you will learn a lot about the culture of Syria, a lot about the streets of Syria. You will feel, that's one thing I like about this book, you will feel that you are Nadia, you are the main character walking through the streets of Syria. So this is also another, so it's academically speaking, it will teach the child a lot of things. You will really you'll feel that you've been to this part of the world, to see the culture, to know a lot about the culture of the country, as well as current events and what is really happening. It talks about the Arab Spring, how it started, how it's erupted, what people are looking for through these protests, and then slowly takes you through what happened in Syria. So I recommend it, but with parental discretion, with so it would be a good kind of a book club book where you just with your own daughter, you read it together, or each one of you read it on their own, and then you discuss it together, and pose questions. And if they don't pose the question, you pose the question. Don't be afraid to hide these kind of questions and say, oh, if they didn't bring it up, why should I? No. Believe me, there are a lot of unanswered questions in our children's minds. And they are, most of them are silent questions. They just don't know sometimes how to pose the question, or they do know, but they're afraid to ask. And either way, these are one of the most dangerous kind of questions, the silent questions that goes on within our children's minds. So this is really this is about this book. Now this book is a little bit more casual. I love this book. The language is very very simple, very short. not a lot of words. Very simple. The language itself is simple. It's very easy to the eye. It's not a lot of words within each page for reluctant readers. And let me give you a summary of what it's about. Jude never thought she would be leaving her beloved older brother and father behind, all the way across the ocean in Syria. But when things in her hometown start becoming volatile, Jude and her mother are sent to live in Cincinnati with relatives. At first, everything in America seems too fast and too loud. The American movies that Jude has always loved haven't quite prepared her for starting school in the US, and for her new label of Middle Eastern, an identity she's never known before. But this life also brings unexpected surprises. There are new friends, a whole new family, and a school musical that Jude might just try out for. Maybe America, too, is a place where Jude can be seen as she really is. This lyrical, life-affirming story is about losing and finding home, and most important, finding yourself. I love this book, although it touches up a little bit about singing and acting and all these things because she was fascinated. Her brother and her were fast, and her friend back in Syria, they were fascinated by um, American movies and songs. But it's just it's just talked about it casually. There was nothing really, except yeah, there was actually um, one part when uh, I think it was about a kiss or something, but it was also described. I don't remember what it was about. It was in the beginning. Um, okay. Um, so I was saying, I'm sorry, I had to pause for the event. I was saying that there was a little scene, very short scene about. I think she was talking about a kiss or something, but it was also mentioned casually, lightly. It's not anything in detail or something. So it's very casual to the point where it didn't really bother me. Anyway, so while this one talks about the journey within Syria till safety, this one actually talks a little bit about. So the girl starts in Syria. Um, War started and erupted, and protests and everything. So the family had to separate, part ways. The father and the big son stayed back in Syria, and the mom and the daughter had to leave, hoping that they will follow them later. But that's what happened, and then it talks more the rest of the story. Most of the story talks about her journey in America and how she tried to find her identity, her new identity, being labeled as Middle Eastern, being labeled as Muslim, being labeled as different. And what I loved most about this book is that she when she went to America, she was not wearing a scarf because she hasn't yet reached puberty. But within the story, she did reach puberty, and she knew what to expect when she reached puberty. So without her mom or anyone telling her what to do, she went to her what she packed and she brought from Syria, and she went and grabbed her scarf and she said, "That's time for me to wear the scarf." And there was no fear or nothing. The girl, how she was telling the story, because it's from first perspective, the girl is telling the story herself, um, is this is who I am, and I don't have to give up my identity because I now live in America. And that's what I love most about this book. She goes around, even she talks about her broken English, and that did not stop her from signing up for a play, in a musical school musical, um, with her heavy accent. And she was proud. She actually did get a role in the play, and she was happy and proud to stand up and stand out. She had no problem with being different, and she wanted to prove herself to everyone that this is who I am, and you have to accept me for who I am, but in a very light way, very light, casual way. So that's really good. So what I'm gonna read to you, I'm gonna do right now is read to you a little bit from the book to get an idea about um, how it is, um, and help you make more decision. You know, the right decision for you and your family. Um, okay, so here is a chapter from the book of Other Words for Home. My new school is 3 blocks from my new house. Sarah and I are supposed to walk together, but on the morning of the first day, the sky is pouring rain, so Aunt Michelle drops us both off at the front steps. Sarah bounds in and leaves me staring up at the enormous old building, which is new to me. Other students rush by me, but I stay planted at the foot of the steps, the rain dripping on my head. I'm less afraid of getting wet than I am of what is inside. I swallow the knot in my throat and replay my brother's parting words to me. Be brave. Be brave, be brave, be brave. Echoes like a chorus in my head as I climb the stairs and enter my brand new world. So that's it. That's just one chapter. Now, not all the chapters are that short, but that's how simple it is. So it really is a good book for reluctant readers, and it's divided into 4 sections. So part one is changing. Part 2 is so things were changing in Syria, and then part 3 is no, where's part 2? Part 2 is leaving, I think. Let's see. Yes, part 2 is arriving to the US. Part 3 is staying. Part 4 is hoping. So she's hoping things change, and she actually does end up calling this new place home. And then, so it's not 4. And then part 5, growing. So she is adapting to her new world. And then, I think, and part 6 is living. So she's adapted, and now she's living her life as, you know, as this place now is growing to be a home, or becoming to be a home for her. Okay, so that's for this book. I think that's all I have. I'll give it 4 stars only because of these few things, you know, talking about if I want to be strict about it, talking about movies and songs and this kiss scene in here. But other than that, it's really a perfect book, and it will be good for a book club, or even, you know, you and your child read it together, or a read aloud. It's really good for read aloud because it's simple and short, and the kids will read it. And it's good for different ages, and it will give you a chance to skip through this. That's why I like, if I have a good book, but it does have a few things that needs my supervision, or I don't approve of, I keep it as a read aloud. This way I have control over what to skip and what to read. Now, for this book, I will also read not a chapter, because the chapter is long. I will just try to find a portion and read it to you, so you also, get an idea about how the book is like. Okay, so this is part of chapter 4, October 9, 2013, 4:08 p.m. Pain. Deep throbbing pain rippled from Nadia's toes to her head, where a pounding headache raged, radiating from a lump on her forehead. Her eyelids caked with dust, ached as they flickered open. For a moment she thought she was back in her room, cocooned beneath her bed. Then the memories flooded back, exiting the apartment, the helicopter, Bermuda falling from the sky, the explosions and fire. Her vision sharpened, and she took in the metal guts of her uncle's old Jeep. It had saved her life. Panic blossomed in her heart, and she froze, her ears probing for sounds. But there was no whir of helicopter blades, no thud of bombs, no voices, only silence. Cautiously she rolled out from beneath the car, squinting against the light. The sun hung low in the sky, partially obscured by a cover of dark clouds. With shaky legs she leaned against the jeep, amazed that she had survived another bomb attack. But all relief evaporated as she stared at what remained of her home. By some miracle, the left side of the building still stood, but the right, along with their neighbor's apartment building, had been reduced to rubble, then charred by fire. It's all gone. Anguish morphed into rage. And my family's gone. How could they? An unforgiving hardness settled into a jagged stone near her heart. Get a hold of yourself, said a voice inside her head. This is no time to fall apart. You must find the others. So as you see, this is part of the chapter, and this is so at the beginning of the first 3 chapters talk about how the day she was celebrating her birthday, and within that day, it takes you and eases you into the Arab Spring and the history of the Arab Spring and how it started and what happened, and then this, and then the rest of the book. All this is her journey to safety to find the others. So as you see, and I give this 4 stars because it's too graphic. Number one, so it's really you have to be careful who's gonna read it, because it will, it's just very graphic. It's like you're watching the news, really. A lot of the scenes in here, it's like from the news. And also because of the Allah's mercy part, mainly because of this, because it poses the question, but it did not really resolve the issue as you're reading it. Although at the end, it's kind of a happy ending at the end, partially. So that's it for these 2 books. So if you're looking for good, clean literature for your kids, I do recommend these 2 books. So go ahead and grab it. For those of you, I got these 2. I read it from the library, and then because I liked it, I had to get it from my family library. So inshallah, if you do get the book, you enjoy reading it and you learn a lot from both of them. Thank you so much, and I will see you in another video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.